Welcome to our preseason week one Bills versus Bears review, not preview, but review. I'm joined today by my co host, Randall, who is guest speaking today. Just wanted to introduce him. How's it going, Randall?
I am doing good. How are you? Football's back.
Good, good. I know we've met on one other podcast and also on Twitter. So this is the second time we're meeting, but I thought it was a good conversation to have today because there's a lot of people on Twitter or X or whatever you want to call it talking about this game as if it's some indictment on the organization and where we are as an organization. And I think some of it, some I guess some brakes need to be pumped a little bit on this. If you've been watching preseason football long enough, you know that it's a liar.
Right.
But I wanted to jump in, start off with this big news today with Matt Milano and his injury. What are your thoughts on that?
I mean, it's a roller coaster of emotions today because, as once that came out and then he was, still on the sideline without any gear on, any armor on sort of thing. And then, the Twitter doctors, which they are very reliable,
Yeah,
started out with a torn bicep, right?
yeah,
So torn bicep was absolutely terrifying, but now it's starting to like more optimism's coming in. So
yeah,
I'm just holding my breath
yeah,
because I mean there's been some serious injuries so far, like Gibbs' hamstring and tore meniscus with JJ today as well.
yeah,
So I mean just hoping and praying.
yeah. I kind of see it the same way. I didn't see a torn bicep. I've seen somebody tear their bicep before.
Yeah.
It doesn't look like that. Um, and you can kind of the I guess the motion that the injury, the I guess the mechanics of it don't look what that happened on the field today, right?
Yeah. Right.
Um, where he kind of rotated on the bag, fell over on his arm. Usually, if you're doing like preacher curls at the gym and you have full extension, you're straining through to come through. That tendon can pop actually if you're going too heavy. That wasn't the motion,
Yeah.
and unless there was something lingering there that maybe caused it to snap finally. But I don't see that. And he was even on the sidelines in the video, kind of flexing his arm out a little bit and shaking it. You're not
Yeah.
doing that if your
Right.
biceps torn.
Right. Yeah. That's a kicker. Which, um, if it is, I mean, that reminds me of a stinger,
Yeah,
which I'm hoping that is because then really you're just not doing much. You're just letting it heal for 3 weeks and then you're
yeah.
back to 100%. So that's what I'm hoping for.
Yeah, and two with Stinger. What's the guy's name on X? The thigh doctor. He
Yeah.
had mentioned that most of the time when you get a stinger, there's a slight like favoring on the neck. He said
Right.
he didn't see that, but there's no video close enough to really diagnose that.
Agreed.
He did look stiff to me when he was doing his thing. He really wasn't moving other than his arm.
Yeah.
It felt almost like it was a nerve thing where he's trying to work it out and try to get the feeling back to it or something, which would imply a stinger or some sort of nerve,
Right.
funny bone.
Yeah.
Uh,
Banged up Bills mentioned the nerves a lot, and we're talking about that. I can't remember what it exactly was called. I think I actually put it in my notes.
yeah,
Um, let's see, like a traction injury, a mild traction injury that has to do with the nerves.
okay,
That could be that. So that he was pretty optimistic on that side, but we'll see. Obviously, we're just gonna twiddle our thumbs until we get something. Hope probably tomorrow morning, right?
probably Thursday actually because we have off tomorrow and then
Oh, that's
Thursday's
right.
a joint practice,
Oh yeah, that's right.
so we're gonna be waiting on our hands.
Yeah.
We're gonna have our hands under us, waiting, freaking out for a day.
I
Um,
know.
I think it's unlikely, but we had to get by with worse last year. Our depth is much better, and we can go into that later.
Yeah.
As it relates to the linebacker depth with, I know Ulofoshio hasn't been playing because of his minor injury, but he's a good player. So Dorian Williams has taken a step, although I think he probably still needs work and coverage.
He definitely does. Yeah.
And then I know people will hate me for this, but I like Deion Jones a lot still. I thought he looked like he was a missile going toward the football on Saturday. And I think he could be a player. And if Morrow comes back, Morrow's a serviceable reserve player as well.
Yeah, he definitely is. I like Morrow. I like Jones. It
Yeah.
is beneficial. I kind of enjoy that we did our first quarter of the starters game one because
Yeah.
now these next two are all going to be those depth pieces that we're going to be able to watch from start to finish and get
Right.
their reps.
Right. I think that I think they might play their dress rehearsal on Saturday, though.
You think so?
I got a feeling, man. I think they're going to do it. I think that the last game, no one's going to play, of course.
Right.
But I mean, we didn't look good in this past game, and I don't think McDermott's very happy. So I could see him playing everybody for at least another quarter or maybe even a half. Now, it might not happen. I'm kind of wishful thinking. I do and I don't want it to happen, but it's going to be – I think it's going to be a come down to how we perform on Thursday in Pittsburgh.
Agreed. Yeah, they offensive line definitely needs more reps for sure. So
absolutely.
Even if Josh Allen doesn't come out, that offensive line needs some continuity.
Absolutely. All right, so speaking of that, let's jump into – I got a few slides here, just pretty basic stuff just to line this up. Actually, let me look at – is this – no, that's not right. Here we go.
Yep,
all right,
that's good.
Cool.
Perfect.
All right, good deal. All right, so arrow up. This is mine, and you can just chime in whatever you want on what you think if I'm missing something that you saw. But these are some notes I took today or Saturday, really, and kind of plotted them out today in a PowerPoint. But I thought Elam and Rasul Douglas were both really good in the game. I thought Elam held his own against – they have a good receiver core, and I didn't see him give up any kind of space. He wasn't holding or anything. He was staying with people. Rasul Douglas was like – I didn't see him a ton in coverage. He only played a little bit, but he was like a missile coming into the backfield for that run stop in the game.
That tackle for loss was incredible. That was great.
Yeah.
There was a couple things on his coverage. He played too deep on, I think, a 15-yard game where he just kind of sat there for a little bit. And he did go into no man's land on that 45-yard running back screen.
Yeah.
He went into no man's land, and that's what caused it to be 45 instead of 25.
Yeah.
But other than that, then Rasul looked good. And we know what he is. He's a turnover machine. So that's what we're looking for.
He's a zone corner, and that's why he's going to be better off the ball anyway. In fact, that he came in like that for run support is a good sign as well. Go ahead. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, but Kaiir Elam was incredible to watch, to be honest with you. It's like I know last year he had an injury that lingered, and that's where it was. And, everybody was like, you don't know what he's been through. And then he comes out this first preseason game and just he was sticky. He was sticky, and it was incredible.
Yeah. And the thing with him is I think we're having a little bit of, I don't know the word for it, like a Buffalo Bills bias against him based on what the speculation is, why he hasn't developed the way he needs to. I think he's better than he's been given credit for the last 2 years. And even in games, he's had a nose for the football. I don't think he's a guy that I think he needed to learn a lot. And I think we see it because we're looking at him with such a microscope. But if he was just the starter the whole time and had 3 or 4 interceptions throughout the year, people will be talking about him like he's a good player. People don't know, So I just think we're overcritical sometimes as well.
I think it's with Elam and being a fan is kind of his timeline, because when we picked him at 25 or 24, it was kind of forced. It was the one position that we were weak on. So it was like, okay, well, it's quarterback. A couple quarterbacks went before him. He was the next one available. We took him, went up a couple spots and took him. So we were just expecting right out the gate. So
I think we're just, and then Christian Benford's development made us feel a certain way about it, because we were like, well, wait, how good is he if Benford's beating him? But Benford is just like, people don't realize this. He was the best corner in FCS football that year.
Right.
And he just played at Villanova. He didn't play at a big school. So people weren't expecting anything as a 6th-round pick, but he just played so well. He's so perfect for our scheme that it really put even a bigger microscope on Elam to be better. And like, wow, the 6th-round pick's beating you. It throws another element of like a narrative in there about him,
Yeah, right. Just like point A to point B, and there's no C involved.
Exactly. It's like he sucks or he's great. And if he's not, if he's not great, he sucks, Yeah, exactly. And that's kind of how I think it's happened. But there's like serious improvement though. That's noticeable though. Although I did hear today on a podcast that which is good. Keon Coleman put him in a blender on one play, supposedly, which is a good advancement in Keon's game.
Absolutely.
And I don't have him on this list, but I think we'll talk about him later. I just didn't think he was an error up or error down. And I ran out of space. So
For sure.
next is Rousseau. I don't know how you felt about him, but I know that I felt he was doubled a few times in the game. He was getting good penetration on the edge. He didn't get any sacks, but he was there, and he was great in run support like he always is. And he looks a little bit burstier to me than
Yep.
he did last year.
Yeah, it looks like he is paying for or playing for that second contract. To be honest with you,
Yeah.
like he was very he did well in the run game, and we could rely on him. But it looks like he has another facet coming up. Like even in that pressure that he had, that resulted in a hold because and all he did was bull rush him. Like he did put a move on him, bull rushed him, and then caused it for the hold to go through. So I think he put a couple facets in his game for this year to get that second contract, which I love because I know that Brandon Beane wants to pay him.
And we need the production.
We do. Absolutely.
I mean, if you saw the Pittsburgh game last year in the playoffs, he had a sack in that game. And that was the first, like, oh, okay, he can do more than bull. It was a rip move, and he got inside on the guy and got a sack. And it was like, oh, okay, this guy can actually get to the quarterback without just, you know how he is. He's a cleanup sack guy. You know, he's getting the secondhand sacks. He's getting rush up the middle. Right. And those are things he did great in college.
Yeah.
And now he just needs to perform better on the edge.
Yeah, he had like 17 in his final year for college, right? Yeah.
Yeah, it was a lot. And I counted it was like 9 of the sacks were from the middle.
Yeah.
So he was all over the place, which is a good trait to have. He's great there. Every time he lines up there, he gets pressure or gets a sack for us. So I think that he's probably, starting to develop some of these other things. He's a big, long guy, so he's not quite like your coordinated physical athlete like a Von Miller. It's not going to be his game, but he's also going to need to pick up some of those things. And it's very difficult to do it at his size and length,
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
I don't know if you'll agree. I thought Cam Lewis showed a lot of versatility in the game. I'm starting to wonder if he's just completely pivoted to safety at this point. Although,
I definitely think he is for sure.
Yeah.
And I honestly, him and DeMar Hamlin played pretty well together. They needed gel a little bit more. There was one Caleb Williams overthrew in the end zone in the first half, and it was Cam Lewis and DeMar Hamlin. DeMar was on the far side while Cam was on the near side, and when he was coming into the middle, and DeMar came to pick him up, but Cam should have fouled him, and that's why he was wide open. And that conversation that they should have, that nonverbal conversation, is where Cam should have fouled him. Yeah. So they just need to talk and they just need to gel together. But both of them together worked very well.
And Cam's a plus athlete compared to DeMar, who would be more of a minus athlete, in my opinion.
Yeah.
But DeMar's got better. It's weird. DeMar has better size and length, shockingly. Yeah. But that's Cam's really only weakness. He's 5'9". I mean, if he was 6 foot, 5'11" even.
Right.
I think he gets a lot of SHIT put on him, but the problem is that when he got mossed by Justin Jefferson, it really wasn't. He was in good coverage in that play. Like, he was all over him. He just got mossed. You know.
I know, and it's Justin Jefferson.
Yeah, it's Justin Jefferson. This guy's barely making the roster. So, I mean, what do you want from the guy? I know he tried to go for the pick. He should have knocked it down, but you can learn that. You can't teach guys just to be sticky in coverage. And I think he's rather sticky from what I can see of him, because he can play in the slot. He can play in safety. I thought they were going to move him back to corner midway through because they brought in all these safeties, but they seem to be putting him back out there and letting Daquan Hardy and what's the other guy's name? Ja'Cory Couch.
Yeah.
He was playing, which was shocking. He was the second slot guy to come in.
I know.
I thought that was interesting.
Yeah, I agree.
And Williamson too, playing safety that early, was interesting to me as well.
Williamson played pretty well until he had that really bad flag.
And funny, people were talking trash about him this week afterwards, saying he had an awful game, lost his spot on the team. I thought he was pretty good until he had that late hit, and then he got beaten coverage at one point after that, but
Yeah.
he was good before that. And I put him on my arrow down. I think I need to go back and look,
Yeah.
but only because of we'll get into. I'll get to it when we get to it. I don't want to get into it now.
Yeah,
All right,
for sure.
Curtis Samuel's usage, not just him, but the usage.
Yeah.
For me was an arrow up of like he didn't just take a screen pass and for 15 yards through traffic, but he also caught that in that mesh concept. He caught the ball on the stop in the middle for the first down. That's why he's sore right now, by the way.
Yeah.
He's sore because he got nailed twice.
Well, that's Curtis Samuel. He's a veteran. That's what it comes down to, which is beautiful. I mean, he's got that facet, but then he did that quick screen, and that screen was incredible too.
Yeah, absolutely. I was pleasantly surprised by his. Damn it, my microphone's getting jacked up here. Tell me if my mic changed on you.
Just like a touch, but you still sound good.
So okay, cool. All right, I'm just gonna run with it for right now until I can get it going. So my thing is, I thought that I didn't know how they were going to use them ultimately. The Reds or the Commanders, whatever you want to call them, used him in really weird ways. I thought he could have been more effectively used on the outside, to be honest with you. And they just never really jumped on that. They just kept throwing screens and doing into rounds and running around the backfield. And I think those are things he's all great at that a lot of guys can't do. But I just want
predictable.
Yeah,
it'll get a little predictable, and that's why having Curtis and Shakir being able to do the same job and James Cook and Ray Davis. I mean, that's where Curtis Samuel will, and his veteran presence will help with that zone, like sitting in that pocket, doing a curl, and just sitting in that open space. That's what he will be used for, and then helping on goes with X and stuff. I love that.
And I saw in the red and blue game, there was a picture of them running 13 personnel with James Cook out wide, and no one was in the backfield, by the way. Cook was outside, and then you had Knox and Kincaid. It was Kincaid was the 3, the furthest. The 2 was Knox, and in the inside was
Morris.
Maybe it was Davidson. I don't know who it was, or either Morris. And it was interesting. They scored on the play. And I'm like, that's the things we can do. And that was what I was worried about with Brady, was his ability to adjust. I don't know if you've seen his tape from Carolina, but he did not put a lot of motion in that offense.
Yeah.
Lots of basic routes, hooks and curls, and lots of stops and outs and things like that. Wasn't a lot of nuance there. And in LSU, he's not going to do that either.
Exactly. That's what I was going to kind of go for. I mean, him going from the college to the NFL, he kind of just took what he had, moved it over, and hope it worked.
But man, all the motion they talk about that's happening in training camp, I'm so impressed with his ability to adjust and make, split decisions on like, okay, we got to do something that's more nuanced to free people up. And we have those types of players. Like you think about Keon. Keon can play X, Z, F, and he can. I mean, I guess he could play tight end and play Y also. But Curtis can play all those, and so can Shakir in a pinch. And I'm just excited about seeing that kind of nuance on the field, and that's one of the things. And I should have talked about it earlier, but that's one of the things I think that people are missing when we're talking about overreacting this preseason game is like, man, like McGovern said it the other day. He's like, yeah, they pulled some stunts and we weren't ready for it because we didn't game plan and we were just running basic vanilla stuff.
Right.
And that's what we're getting from the offense when they're on the field right now in preseason. They don't care about all the nuance. They want to see you do what's asked of you, run the route asked, and then block your guy in front of you. If you're a clear out guy, clear out. If you're the primary, route runner in the play, we want to see you get separation. They don't care necessarily. They want to score, but they don't care necessarily about winning the game.
Agreed.
So yeah, that's why I think that people are overreacting a little bit because we didn't play that well, but we really didn't show any motion in that game.
No, not at all. And my small pushback on that is what I hope is that Joe Brady becomes a little aggressive in that planning, because you can show it in the red and white game or the red and blue game and everything like that. But I kind of hope that he has a little bit of Kansas City in him, like doing some trick plays and doing some weird things, because you have confidence in your versatility.
Right.
So that if you have confidence in that versatility, don't be afraid to use it in an NFL game. And I hope that we get a little quirky with that, because we're so versatile.
Exactly. You have more confidence in it at the end of the day.
Exactly.
And the reason I think you're right. I think we won't see it, but in the Pittsburgh practice, they've talked about showing, Allen, I think, said it today. He's like, we want to show a little bit more in the practice because we don't play them this year.
Right.
And be able to work on some things that we wouldn't work on live TV.
Yeah.
It made me think that McDermott is behind it, where like the kickoff thing, right? I don't know if it was me and you, we were talking about it, I think, but on Twitter, but the kickoff situation was, I think it's boring as hell, but whatever. People love it. People are saying it's going to be fine once we get into real bullets. And they did not. They did like 5 touchbacks in that game. I mean, they weren't even trying to run it. They were just like, I don't know if they're really holding it to the vest or Bass is just totally in his head.
Yeah. I hope it's not Bass. Let's start.
I hope so too.
But it is curious, because now they moved it up to the 30 if you hit it in the end zone. So the 30 is a big deal, but is it a big deal, sort of thing? So I remember when I was talking to you and I was like, just wait. I said something like, just wait till the fourth quarter when the 49ers put Debo out, right?
Yeah.
But if Debo goes out, why don't you just hit in the end zone?
So it's just, why would you kick it to that guy?
Right. You could just
give him 5 yards. Who cares?
Right. Exactly. So it'll be really funny if the competition committee or the NFL committee is like, well, that didn't work because they don't care. Well, we'll move it up to the 40 next year.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. That's what they're going to have to do if they want to keep doing it. It's aesthetically unappealing to me. So when I'm watching it, I'm like, man, this just looks ugly. And I think that's part of what's in my head with it is it's like I'm watching it going, well, nothing crazy is happening here.
Right.
And it's also not pretty,
I would assume that would be really cool is the camera right above the kickoff, like when they follow the ball. Yeah. Then that would actually look really cool, because then you'll see it go over the 2 lines, catch and then go, sort of thing.
Absolutely.
That'll be aesthetic. Definitely look
more aesthetic. Yeah.
Yes, thank you.
So Ray Davis next. I know that people aren't going to wouldn't probably put him on there, but I was impressed. First of all, he held onto the football.
And he trucked the dude.
And he was a really good receiver. And he was really good in pass pro.
Yeah.
I don't know who said it. Joe Marino or somebody said that James Cook got leveled. And then the 2 pass pro snaps that Ray Davis had, he just checked the guys, which was not a plus for him coming out of college.
Yeah, I mean, he's a smaller guy. I mean, he is kind of built a little bit like
he's
a brick house.
Yeah.
But Ray Davis did shine. Obviously, it's hard to see on the rushing. I didn't again, it was very plain on the offense. I'm pretty sure we ran the ball on first down every single time with Josh Allen.
We did.
So it's like, come on. That's not what we're going to do. And our offensive line wasn't that great. So the rushing ability, you can't really say.
You can't glean anything from it.
Exactly. But the pass catching and him just even taking that hit to truck that guy in your first game, sort of thing, is incredible. So it's a plus.
Here, this is my hot take. I think Ray Davis could steal James Cook's job before the end of the year. You don't think so?
I don't want it to happen, to be flat.
I don't either, because that means James Cook has dropped 10 passes in 5 weeks.
He dropped a pass today, right?
He did. He dropped another pass today. It's it's him and Bass. It's like something's wrong. Mentally, I don't think James Cook has a lack of confidence. And the one thing about James Cook, not to get on him too much, I didn't put him in my error down, I don't think, is that his catch mechanics are fantastic.
Agreed.
It doesn't make sense. It's a concentration. It's not like Gabe Davis, who has the worst catch mechanics I've ever seen in a wide receiver in the NFL. He catches the ball. I know I'm a hater, but I mean, his mechanics are like that of a 8th grader.
Yeah,
it really is.
He's a great person, but he claps.
Catching like this, catching like that. Who does that?
I don't know.
And James Cook is feathery. It's impressive, but he drops too many balls. I don't understand it.
I agree.
I don't get it, man.
Hopefully,
so we'll see.
But yeah,
That's my hot take. I think Ray Davis is actually more built to be an every down back. He's 5'8", but 210.
Yeah.
Good receiver, good blocker, low center of gravity, being 5'8". I don't care about his height that much. I more care about his weight when it comes to running backs. The burst is there. He's like a 4.5 40 guy.
Yeah.
That's like if I was going to draw up a running back, I'd make him a little bit taller, maybe 5 pounds heavier, but he's right there on the cusp of what I would want. And James Cook is got that kind of elite ability to make people miss and stuff. He's got almost not quite Shady McCoy, but almost where he kind of weaves through the traffic.
Yeah.
And I love that about him, but you got to give me something else. You got to give me reliability.
For sure. Yeah. I mean, he reminds me of Dalvin when it comes down to his running ability. Like if you toss it outside, that's kind of where he's best at.
Yep. And although he's, 15 pounds lighter, 20 pounds right.
I've got a question for the pass protection.
Yeah.
When we were talking about that. What we were talking about, if Joe Marino was talking about it, but the play with Dalton Kincaid on the seam where it got tipped at the line.
Yes.
James Cook was behind there, and he was on Josh Allen's left side. And then he was the one that didn't pick up the blocker. But it seemed like that might have been on Josh Allen. He could have motioned James Cook over to his right side to get that
I think
blocker.
he could have too. Yeah, I think he could have too.
I don't know if Joe Marino was talking about that specific one because he was supposed to pick up the extra rusher for sure. But James Cook was on the left, and the rusher came on the right.
Yeah, he wasn't specific about the actual play that he saw from it. I didn't see it. He's the one who saw it, so I just kind of used it. But I agree with you on that play. He came free, and then also you're asking James Cook to block a freaking pterodactyl.
Yeah,
he's a monster. He would have crushed him, and it wouldn't have probably even phased him.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think Allen could have checked that, and that's one of Allen's weaknesses. I think is still I think he's really good at reading pre-snap down the field, the coverages. But I think he's still working on how to shift protections to watch out for the blitz and things like that, or the strong side.
Yeah,
and
his first 4 years he just rush it.
Oh
pressure go. Yeah,
rush him, and then he would either beat it with his legs and then do his rollout to the right, or he would run upfield in his 100%. First 3 or 4 years.
Yep. Yeah.
So Deion Jones and Andreessen, I know this is probably not a big, huge thing. People probably didn't notice it, but I did. Andreessen looked like he belonged. He's going to be a practice squad guy. We know that. But he really didn't look like he was over his head. I think he's a year away from being a player on this roster potentially. I think his athleticism's there. And Deion Jones, I thought, took really good angles to the football. He attacked. And I love the reason I put him together is because I saw Deion Jones mentoring Andreessen throughout the game.
Yeah.
And hyping him up and things like that. I love that. I mean, I love a vet doing that for a young player like that.
Yeah, I did not see that. That is very cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He was he made a play. He was dapping him up on the sideline. They were sitting next to each other talking and stuff. Even there was a mic'd up situation I saw too, where they were talking on the sideline. He was hyping him up. And it was just great to see because Deion's a new player on this team. And that's a leadership quality we were missing as the second linebacker last year as a vocal leader. And Deion's not old, by the way.
Right.
I mean, he's 29, I think. He's not that old. Right, they pretend like he's 35 years old. He might have something left in the tank,
Yeah, for sure.
And then last, Shakir. So one of the things I wanted to see from him was, he did the things he always does, right?
Right.
He's sure-handed, although it doesn't always look pretty. He's sure-handed. And that one catch where he took it on third down, and I guess it was third down, and he turned upfield for another 10 yards or whatever. That kind of play, that's what number one receivers do.
Absolutely.
And I don't know if he's a number one receiver ever, but he's got some juice, man. This kid's I don't know why people keep saying he's faster than you think. I thought he was fast when he came out.
Yeah. No, absolutely. And it's interesting because we have it's a 1A, it could be a 1A and 1B when it comes to wide receivers with Shakir and Coleman. Once he gets into his, full self, They could be a 1A, 1B, kind of like, honestly, we're kind of emulating, our offense starting to emulate more like the 49ers than the Chiefs sort of thing. And the 49ers do it way better, in my personal opinion. And we're doing it more like that, a 1A, 1B with a great tight end, and then other pieces included. So Shakir doesn't need to be a 1. He just does, he's great what he does, and he's also versatile in that.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's just a plus.
Absolutely. And I think they used him. I was worried when we got Samuel, was this going to be a redundant issue with the two of them? But I see a plan where they have very different roles. I think Shakir is going to be used much more like a typical receiver who turns into a running back after he catches it. And I think that they're going to use Curtis Samuel as an actual running back at times.
Agreed. 100%.
You're going to see a lot of orbit motions and, just lots of stuff where, he's playing. Now you might even see Curtis Samuel playing like H-back sometimes, where Shakir is going to be the slot guy. I think that's going to be his role. He's going to be the primary slot guy. He's going to be people were comparing him to Beasley today because he's become such a good safety valve, but I think he's a little more than that. But he's not quite as good as Beasley as like just uncovering in the first 2 steps,
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, Cole Beasley was so fluid in his route running. He was such a good route runner. Shakir does not have that route running, but he makes up for it, and he does his job. Really, Shakir just does his job. That's what's incredible about him.
Yeah.
Is he does it, and Joe Brady asks him about plays and stuff, and Shakir tells him what he wants to do, and then he does what he wants to do. It's beautiful.
And he finds he's one thing he's better at than I would say Shakir 1 to 10 is like a 7 as a route runner. Beasley's like a 9.5.
Absolutely.
And which means, Shakir's a good route runner. He's just not like elite like that. But Shakir's really, really good at finding soft spots and sitting in the slot and waiting for the football and be like, being available, I guess, is the best way to explain it.
Yeah.
I love that because we need easy completions a lot of times. That's what we didn't have last year. Like, I know Shakir came on late, but early in the season, Gabe is not an easy completion. Diggs was at times, but Diggs to me just wore down as the Miami game. After that game, Diggs was never the same.
Yeah,
he burned Miami, and it's like he had a certain amount of gas in the tank. He burned the gas up, and the rest of the year he ran on E. That's what it felt like.
Well, I mean, when it came with Ken Dorsey, it was 90% of our offense first read was Stephon Diggs, and 90% of the time he was getting double teamed. So it was difficult for Josh Allen to run that, and I don't think he even had fun running the offense.
Yeah, I don't either. And Gabe was so challenged when it comes to like his lateral agility and his ability to just make sharp cuts and run nuance. Like the one thing about Keon people don't give him credit for is he has improved a lot on his route run. I've seen it since college to this point, and since OTAs, I think I've seen a big difference. Keon has great feet. Like his feet, he's got that. He's a basketball player. Like basketball players are easy to transition to wide receivers because they always have good feet, and they're very trainable as it relates to being able to learn new skills and like apply it to what will make you successful versus, just a straight up football player. Just like I've always played this way. It's how I win. I don't know how to do anything else, Right,
for sure. I really like Keon's upper body control too. He
way better.
He does not show routes.
No, that's the thing. Just not to go too long on Keon, but that rep. So the 3 reps, actually, I saw 4 reps. That guy Ryan on X posted it, and I thought it was interesting. It was a clear out, but the point of the clear out is they're supposed to think that you're going deep,
Right.
And he won. He had like 5 yards of separation at that point. And the route, the slant in the end zone, I thought that the release was good.
Yeah.
The problem is that as soon as he got hooked by the corner, which was it's a hold, but didn't get called, he slowed down.
He did. Yeah.
And you got to be able to, especially with a guy like his size, he's got to drive through that. And then when he got there and he was covered up again, he needs to box out. I mean, it's really what it is,
For sure.
And go get it instead of falling. He stumbled a little bit. The other one was just the other one shouldn't have been thrown to him in the end zone. The one in the back.
No. Oh, yeah.
It was zone. He ran into the zone where the safety was sitting at, and he covered him a little bit, and then he still threw it. And I'm like, Trubisky shouldn't even – I know they were trying to force feed Coleman a little bit, but
yeah, for sure.
Wasn't a fan of that either. So I thought he played a good game otherwise. I thought he was fine.
I agree.
We'll see as he develops.
I will say that Shakir 25-yarder that he had, Keon put his hand up, and
Yeah.
Josh Allen would have thrown it straight to
Oh,
Keon.
that's the thing. Yeah, because that's the picture is Keon running 5 yards of separation,
like,
doing this, and it's like, oh, that's it. He's gonna get like that's the ball. Allen's not throwing to Shakir there. He's rifling it in there for 30 yards.
100%. Yeah.
So I can't wait to see that a little more. And I think this whole misdirection we're going to use in the motion and stuff is going to really help him in his game. And he can kind of, I hate to say this, but fake it till he makes it a little bit. Where he's going to get schemed up routes, and he'll be on scramble drills. He's going to be excellent there. He's going to be a red zone threat. And then hopefully he developed, like, his ceiling to me is T. Higgins.
Agreed.
Yeah, that's the ceiling.
Which is a beautiful thing.
Yeah, that'd be fantastic. T. Higgins wasn't known to separate in college either. About the same size, about the same speed. Actually, Keon's a better athlete, probably.
Yeah.
So we'll see. But all right, let's go to the arrow down. The first one's obvious. The O-line was just, I know that they weren't running like the full gauntlet of what they were going to do and all the nuance, but man, it was just, they were getting blown up too by the D tackles. The middle pressure was awful.
Oh yeah, it was bad. Where do you think it stems from to start? Because obviously our tackles, Spencer Brown looked pretty good.
He was fine. I thought Dion played poorly.
Yeah, he didn't play. I don't know. I think Dion played okay, to be honest with you. But I think Spencer had one bad rep. And then McGovern was very subpar to start.
That too. Yeah, that too. He was getting blown up off the line. Like, he wasn't holding his ground like he wasn't anchoring.
Exactly. And it looked like for a second, being in that center position, he, like, for a split second was figuring out where to go. Like, he would snap it, take a couple steps back, and then like start moving to the right. And it wasn't quick enough. So
he thought he was playing guard for a second.
Exactly. That's exactly it.
That's exactly what it is. Yeah, I think it was just confusion of, like, the gel was bad. Like, I think that they weren't doing any kind of, like, tackle wrap or anything like, they weren't doing any of these cool stuff they usually do. And they were just playing straight up. And I think that the Bears came out wanting to throw things at us that they would normally throw out in the regular season.
For sure.
And we weren't interested in that. And it showed. And I thought a couple runs got called back that were good, that I thought were kind of BS-y, the penalties they called on us. The one by Ray Davis and there was one by James Cook. They were both, James Cook's was like 6 or 7 yards. I think Ray's was like 10. So there were some that were okay. I just thought that overall, we've seen this from Deion Dawkins in the past as well. This preseason, like last 2 years, we've been worried about Deion Dawkins because he had such poor preseasons, and he comes out and he's like an all-pro last year,
Yeah.
Or he wasn't an all-pro, but
he deserved it.
He played like one, So the media just didn't think he was. So my thing is, it may just be a not an effort issue, but just an interest, like interested in doing this. And I do think that after that, the second and third string guys, Vandermark's great as a swing tackle. Lyle Collins played okay in this game, actually, but he struggles at right tackle now. He can't move anymore.
Yeah, I know.
And Grable's a rookie, and he played good.
He did play good.
Yeah. And so did AVPG. Van Pranger. Yeah, AVPG. I think that's it.
He did.
He was actually really, really solid from the jump. Now he's playing against third stringers. I do have a question for you, what you think, because they said that, he's going to need versatility to play on this team.
Right.
His arm length is just really short. Yeah. It's not like Shakir with short arms playing receiver. That's a different story, right? That's not his game.
Yeah,
but
he's like
at
30.
Guard, you kind of have to.
Yeah, he's like 30 and a third, right? 30 and a third.
I'm 6'2", and I've got the same length as him, but I'm not a 300-pound man.
Right. Yeah, I mean, statistically, he wouldn't work unless he's center on a statistical basis. But I mean, he was captain on a consistent basis. He was so fluid in college, and how much of a great leader he is. I wouldn't be surprised that he could take a guard position because of his mentality. It would just.
He's not active on Sundays or something. He's like he's not in the top 46.
Right. So it would be a struggle to see anything out of that this year. I assume it's going to be more or less a full depth learning curve for him this year. I don't think they're
Yeah.
going to even try to give
No.
him anything, but
I think
it
he's probably insurance.
yeah,
I know Alec Anderson is going to play center as the backup, but
right.
he's got more versatility. If things go crazy, he could play center in a pinch. And that if McGovern doesn't work out, or, we can get rid of, I think, McGovern in 2026. By that time he'll be in year 3 and he'd be able to start if he's still showing promise.
Yeah. Seems like a good timeline, to be honest.
Yeah, I think so too. Because there are some deficiencies to him as an athlete. I don't think he's super fleet of foot. I worry a little bit about him anchoring down, although I thought he did well in the preseason game. And the arm length is an issue, not as much at center, but it's still kind of an issue,
Right.
So we'll see. Kendall Williamson, like we were talking about earlier, I thought he played well until the penalty. He gave up one big play that, I think everybody was out of sorts on that play. I can't remember which one it was, but I remember him getting beat right after that. Kind of lost his mojo.
Yeah.
But the reason he's on error downs, I think that penalty is going to get him cut.
I think it's a possibility. He did play well. We'll have to see how game 2 and 3 go, because he tackled really well. I think he played like up on the line at one point and had a nice block. I can't remember what play it was, a pass block, and then he had another really good one, and then he took that hit. Then he made that hit, and then that's where it was just kind of it could. I'd have to look at the depth chart and see if he is that cut candidate, because right now he is in that candidate area. But I think he can win it. I think he can win it back.
Potentially. I mean, he could. Now the question is, does he take a spot over the safeties that we have? Edwards is probably an IR candidate, or a pup. And then I think Bishop's going to be back. I just got a feeling he looks good in like his warm-ups and stuff. He doesn't seem to have any lingering issues when he's running. You don't see him favoring the shoulder or anything like that.
Do you think he will be back week 1? I wouldn't be surprised. You do?
Bishop.
Yeah.
Because it's a scapula. You could wrap it up. You probably take a shot to get the pain out.
Right.
And you could probably play with it. It doesn't sound like it's a severe thing, because if it's probably just a small crack in the scapula. It's not like if it was something really deep and hard, like he would not be running around and stuff.
Oh no, for sure. I'm just curious because I think I saw it was like a three-week timeline for healing.
3 to 5. Yeah. And it's been almost 3 weeks now.
Oh, it has. I thought we're on. Oh man. Okay.
Well, it started the 3rd week for him. He's been out for longer than I want.
For sure.
It was like day 2.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that's fair. Okay.
Or
So
3
my
maybe.
timeline's a little off. Okay, so yeah, we're good. Yeah.
It feels more recent, but it's not. And then the thing with the only reason I think they might IR Edwards is because of the type of injury is like, it really just needs rest.
Right.
And it depends on how your body reacts, the way you do, like how you come along. I'm kind of upset about it, and I'll ask you when I'm done. I had a question I was going to ask you what you think we should do about it. But, I love Edwards. I think he's starting caliber safety in this league. I just think he's got a raw deal with being on Tampa, who had 2 really good safeties, and then Kansas City with 2 really good safeties, and just having to back up those guys in those 2 spots he's been in,
I 100% agree. I was excited when we got Mike Edwards. I think he does have starter potential. Are we doing Bishop and Edwards, or are we doing?
No, I'd still start Rapp. I know people don't like Rapp. I would just think that with his knowledge of the system already,
fair,
he's above replacement level, and he's a guy who I think the communication piece, and he's taking I think he's really taking the leadership part of this seriously.
Yeah.
And I just don't think there's any chance they're going to bench him.
That's fair.
Bishop's a better player.
Yeah.
But it's going to take time for him to get the mental part of the game.
Right. Agreed.
So, MVS.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm getting frustrated with him. I know he had a good day again today, but like, dude, every time a camera's on you, you drop the pass.
Yeah, and he didn't really like he didn't show emotion when he dropped it. He was very plain faced to where it's like, oh, like no big deal sort of thing. It's like, well, that wide receiver 5 is going to be pretty important for us, assuming that Hamler is wide receiver 6 for kick returner, punt returner.
Yeah.
So it's pretty crucial. I would not be sad if he was a practice squad guy, to be honest with you.
So here's my conundrum that I think it puts us in, though, is that I know some of our guys can get down the field, right? But we do not have a real field stretching deep threat that's like traditionally a deep threat.
Right.
And MVS is that, but that's all he is.
Right.
And he's inconsistent. So it's like, do you want to roll the dice on that just to take heat? Like you could put him in the game and that's like, okay, the threat's there. But I mean, he's so unpredictable. And like what do you do? Shavers isn't getting down deep like that. Hamler can, but he's tiny.
Yeah, I know. I thoroughly enjoyed Hamler except the one drop ball. But I mean,
yeah, me too.
Who are you taking out for MVS when you're doing that's my concern is if we're doing 2 tight end sets, then is he switching out Samuel? I'm assuming in that situation, right?
Probably in a deep, like in a
yeah.
It's like we know who our top 4 are. In fact, I think we know who our top 5 are at this point. I think Shavers is 5.
Shavers?
I think he is. I think he's played well enough.
I would rather see Shavers over MVS.
Yeah, overall. Yes.
Yeah.
The dynamics of it.
Yeah.
And then you have a decision to make if you want to carry 6 or 5. And then you may run 6. You Hamler because he can return kicks, but Daquan Hardy can return kicks as well. And Hardy isn't going to be as involved on defense as Hamler would end up being on offense, most likely.
True. I agree.
You know?
Now with Hamler, I know that we might skip a couple dots. I really liked what I saw in Hamler, to be honest. He gave me like, obviously he will be nowhere close to this man, but he was twitchy like Tyreek when he had the ball in his hands. And he gave me a little bit of like Isaiah McKenzie vibes. If we did a game plan in like what we used Isaiah McKenzie with, first I think I'd love Josh Allen would love that because Isaiah McKenzie had those games and he just had that vibe and I really enjoyed watching him.
So that's why I put up down on here. I didn't want to put him air up because you fumbled a kickoff and that's the only thing you're asked to do really at this point.
Right.
So I'm like, I can't put him air up.
Yeah.
But I almost did because I thought he was really good as a receiver during the game. He showed open. He's got burst. You know what he reminds me of more so? Roscoe Parrish.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Yep, 100%.
Skinny, kind of bouncy, and kind of like almost spastic when he moves, like kicking his feet. Like it's just the way he runs and stuff. And I got that vibe, and I was like, man, I thought when he dropped it, if he didn't have that offensive performance after that, which I thought was pretty good, other than he stumbled that one time and fell. I thought if it wasn't for those 2 catches he made or whatever, probably have a really he'd be one of the biggest losers of the game because that's this one job. Is like they're like obviously they want him to be the kick returner.
Yeah.
And now with the new guys coming in today, who knows what they're going to do? But I thought he did well enough to say, dude, like MVS isn't giving us that.
100%. Every time he caught the ball, all I could think of was he thinks he can make it to the end zone. Every single time the ball's in his hand, he's like he's going to try everything he can until he knows that he has to either go down or take a hit.
Have you seen have you listened to him speak, his personality?
I honestly have not.
He's really funny.
Nice.
Like he's like fits in perfectly to what we do and how our personality. Our team's very jokey and funny and like, kind of lighthearted in a lot of ways.
For sure, yeah.
He fits really well with that. I think MVS does a little bit too. I think he wants to fit. I think MVS knows this is his last chance to be like a player in this league.
Yeah.
Because now there's a narrative on him.
100%. Yeah.
But the other thing, this is easy. Oliver got banged up, but he came back fine. That was scary. That's why it's an arrow down. It just scared the shit out of me, and I wasn't happy about it.
Let him sit for the rest until week 1.
No more injuries.
No more.
Yeah, not through the top 10 players in our team cannot get hurt.
Agreed.
Smoot's pursuit bothered me. And it was really just one, maybe it's 2 plays where there was bootlegs. And I know Caleb Williams is a really good runner and scrambler, but man, he just took the wrong pursuit angle and he just looked like he was lost, you know. Although I'll say he's been great all camp.
Yeah.
He's definitely defensive end 5-4, you
Right.
know.
He
He's not in threat of losing his job or anything.
right, but Caleb didn't really show like Caleb was running to the right on that, correct?
Yep.
That you're talking
Yep.
about, and,
Yep.
and all he was running to the right, so it was very clear what Caleb was doing. I'm
Yeah.
surprised that he took that wet route. Like
Yeah, that's
just
what I'm saying.
He like ran towards the end zone instead of a little bit more of an angle. It was a very simple
Yeah.
thing to do. It was confusing.
It was because he didn't take just one false step. He took like 2 false steps.
Yeah.
And was like, what are you reading there? Did you not even see? Were you completely fooled by that? Because that's a problem. He's an edge setting defensive end. He's got to be able to set the edge.
Right.
And if he's not going to be able, if he like Greg Rousseau's great at this, by the way. He rarely ever gets caught this way. And I guess maybe we're spoiled in that way because Rousseau might be one of the best edge setters in the NFL.
Agreed.
So when it happened, I was kind of like, man, what the hell? And then he did it. And I'm like, that just looks like you just put him in a spin cycle and he shouldn't have been able to.
Agreed.
And then Garage being on the third team was surprising to me.
Yeah.
Grable was the first right tackle off the bench. He's a left tackle.
I know when that came up, I actually had to like Google the numbers because I was like, did they change numbers? Because I couldn't see the name.
Yeah.
And that's how surprised I was. I was very confused.
Yeah. Like I just didn't understand I didn't understand how I liked Garage is kind of a minus athlete. He's a big fella. I mean, he's obviously a right tackle, but I think he can kick in the guard a little bit. But I was surprised because Grable, one of his things is like he's not stout at all. Like he's an athlete, and that's pretty much his game. Like he's going to be a left tackle. He's fleet of foot, kind of like Vandermark was before he developed a little bit more, you know?
For sure.
Okay, so that is, we'll come back to this. Yeah, there we go. That's good. I did want to ask, I got them written down here. The first one kind of relates. How many wide receivers do you think they keep?
6. I think they go 6.
Okay.
And it is the 5, the Shakir, Keon, Curtis, Mack, Hamler, and then I do like Tyrell Shavers as the 6th.
Yeah. That'd be my guess as well.
I think that's the way to go, to be honest.
And I know we kept 5 last year. Well, we really kept 6 and we IR'd Shorter last year, but which he's done.
Yeah.
I was right.
It is what it is. Honestly, when we drafted him, I was like, I'm not going to pay close attention. And that's exactly what happened. It wasn't worth I feel bad. I met Justin Shorter's girlfriend at the Broncos game, and their family seemed nice.
Yeah.
It's just unfortunate that didn't come to fruition.
He's a nice guy. So when he came out, one of my things, not to get caught up on Shorter too much, but when they had a visit for him, I immediately went and started watching some film on him because it's sort of like, I've never heard of him. I'd never watched him play. And my first inclination was like, oh, we're looking for a developmental tight end. He can do that.
Yeah.
He's 230 and 6'4", and he can add 10 pounds, and he could be a developmental tight end because he can't play receiver. He doesn't have good enough feet. He's very straight-liney. I didn't think he would run 4.5, and he did. Good for him, but didn't feel that he would do that. And I thought the hands were shaky. Even though he didn't drop many passes, just same thing with the catch technique thing. I could see the way he was catching the football was not translatable to like steady hands.
For sure.
And when he came in, I was like, I'm not expecting much. And we drafted him the 5th round. I was really not happy with that. I like the kid from Wake. Can't remember his name now. You might remember it. I'm not sure. I liked him a lot. I liked a few other guys, and they said they drafted him just for 4-phase special teams. I'm like, that's not a good reason to use a 5th round pick.
No, definitely not.
That's an awful situation. So yeah, I agree with you. We won't keep 5 because we don't have a Diggs.
Yeah.
They want to, we do have probably the deepest receiver room, maybe in the NFL, not the top, but depth, right?
Right.
There's not many people have a KJ Hamler as wide receiver 6, you know? And so I think they're going to do it just because they want to give themselves shots where, hey, if Keon's not coming along the way we want, we've got other options, you know?
Agreed.
And not on the practice squad where they can get poached and shit, you know?
Yeah, absolutely.
So that's kind of feel. Some people are saying 7. I don't think 7 receivers is in the cards.
No, we need depth in the back.
Same question with safeties. What do you think they do with this? Because this is to me, I've not been pro Simmons at all. I'm like, we're good.
Right.
We've got McDermott can coach these guys up. We've got Edwards. We've got Bishop as a young guy. Rapp's fine. I thought we'd be okay. But now I'm starting to teeter, man. This injury situation, I feel like Simmons is back on the table for me where he wasn't before.
I don't. I
Okay.
think we're going to stick with what we have. I think the way Buffalo operates in the back with McDermott and Bobby being so good is more of a 5-man weave option sort of thing. So they're working all as a team. So I think as when it came to with Poyer and Hyde, how they could disguise some of our cornerback play, I think it might come in a little bit on the opposite and have our cornerbacks help our safeties a little bit in that, and our nickel, of course, help with Taron Johnson, help with that. Because if we have Benford and then Elam and Razul, I mean that, and then Taron Johnson taken away and then not counting the safeties. I mean, that's a great trio to kind of help with that safety position, and then maybe give Cole Bishop a little less of a responsibility, and maybe playing a little bit more on the line that he liked to do at Utah and stuff like that. Yeah. So I think it'll be we need to gel in the first 4 or 5 weeks to get better, and we'll let our cornerbacks do the work, and then we'll come together for the set 2/3 of the rest of the year.
Man, we can't lose to Miami in week 2.
I don't think we're going to lose to Miami.
I've talked so much trash to these people.
I know you have.
I mean, little baby arm Tua and all their little, like, I just can't. I can't handle it. I might go off X for a while. We got to get it together in Arizona. Arizona's a great first game to play on. I'm happy about that.
They'll be learning curves for them.
Yeah, last point that I think, and we should do this again where we do like a roster breakdown, like a projected 53 next time or something. If you want to keep doing this,
yeah, that'd be
great. I'd love to have you on regularly. So, man, Tyler Bass is just scaring the hell out of me. I just can't. I know when somebody's in their head. This is not a holding issue.
Yeah,
this is I'm in a funk issue.
Yeah, you know what drives me nuts is that people like gave him flowers for hitting that 49-yarder in the wind in a preseason game, and I'm like, like, why are you guys doing this? Like,
did you see it?
Yeah,
I thought he missed it. I said, when he did it, I looked at my wife, like, God damn, he missed the kick, and then he made it. And I was like, oh, thank God.
Yeah, I mean, the wind was going that way. The wind was going that way, and it was pretty rough. So it was good of him to hit it, but he went 4 for 6 today, I think. So he missed 2 today in practice. So it's I know that I'm being negative and pessimistic about it, but I can't stand people giving Tyler Bass flowers before the season started and I hope Tyler Bass does good, and I know he's a good person, and I really want him to do well, but he doesn't deserve flowers until he proves it in the regular season. I want to see, and it's not about going 2 for 2, 35 and 41, and we win the game. It's about hitting a 35-yarder that is a game winner, or he hits a 55-yarder that either puts us ahead of the game in the fourth or does something that's crucial. Give me a crucial, you're sweating because you're so nervous, but you still hit it, sort of hit. And just please do that, and then I'll start giving you flowers.
Yeah, and I hate to say it, but I've seen this potential from this rookie year. I remember watching rookie year, and he made kick after kick, but he had lots and lots of just barely makes wide right.
Yeah.
Over and over again. I remember thinking, we can't handle a wide right, dude. Like, go wide left.
Yeah.
I don't care. Go that way, dude. Do not kick it wide right off the, like, I can't. And I saw that potential with the way he kicked. I think it's a technique thing where it always kind of slices. And I see it. I'm just like, man, this is going to be something that could crop up in the future. And then, even before that miss in Kansas City, I was getting hesitant on him, So I don't know.
Oh yeah, most definitely. I mean, the Pittsburgh game. I mean, the game before it was bad.
Yeah,
he missed that, and there was a couple other ones. I don't even.
Yeah, there's been a couple where it's
Broncos game,
and you could see McDermott giving him flowers a lot to boost his confidence because it's like playing golf. When you get into a funk, it's like sometimes you just can't get out of it. That's how it feels right now, where he's continuing to he's hitting it too hard, like he's not actually, because he's got a strong leg. He's hit some big kicks for us, actually.
Oh,
And I know they invested in him, but
yeah.
I'm almost ready to say bring a vet in just to be ready
Yeah,
to
we'll
pull the
have.
plug.
I mean, grab because I know they got the top XFL kicker, but start bringing in workouts for XFL kickers. See what you
Yeah.
can do with that. So because
Yeah.
you don't have to pay him as much and
And
stuff like that.
and
But
maybe we wait a little bit so we don't like if we're going to have Bass going in, maybe we wait to do that until it gets to the point where it's like, dude, you've missed a bunch of kicks. We can't do this anymore. We need to bring somebody in because if we do it now, I do wonder if it's going to be a situation where it messes with them more, you know?
right, I mean, he was a 7.2 million dead cap if we released him this year. If that
Yeah, dude.
was 1 million to 2 million, would he be on the team?
I don't know. I
I
think it'd
don't
be
think
close.
I don't
Maybe
think he
probably
would.
not. Yeah,
Yep.
I would beg to think no. But you know what McDermott is. McDermott's very set in his ways, and to a fault. But also, it's a good thing because it gives us stability.
Yeah.
But he does stick with people longer, maybe than he needs to. But then it pops. Like Damar Hamlin's popping a little bit. Kyer Elam's popping a little bit. You know.
Yeah.
Kyrie's popping a lot. Actually, I think we have
Yeah.
maybe our top 4 corners, if we include Taron Johnson, might be one of the best set groups in the league. You know,
I agree. I think coming into last year and this year, the NFL and the NFL fans are starting to realize that there's a learning curve for individuals, not
yeah,
for a team holistically. So just like basketball, like
yeah,
you'll see top 5 players start producing at 25, 26 instead
yep,
of when they're drafted at 21, 22.
yep,
That's starting to happen in the NFL much more, where the learning curve is a little bit later and
yep,
patience needs to be instilled.
yeah. I agree. And it's everybody kind of looks at quarterbacks, and I know that they forget about the quarterbacks who just never develop, but they always look at C.J. Stroud and Justin Herbert and Patrick Mahomes and these guys who just hit the ground running, and then they apply that same logic to other positions.
Right.
Corner is maybe the hardest position to play in the league outside of quarterback, you
Yep.
know, just
100%.
learning how to do and move and all the rules are against you, you know,
Yeah.
like, so it's a
Yeah.
double-edged sword, you know? So
Agree.
anyhow, thanks for coming, Randall. I appreciate your time, man. I don't want to keep you too long. We'll do
Okay.
this again. I'm going to try to do game recaps, maybe even a little sooner than 4 days later in the future.
Yeah.
And I'll keep you in the loop, man. I'd love to have you back on. You're a good co-host as far as that goes. And, I'll, we can work out something on the side on like a time frame or whatever that works for you. So
Yeah, you let me know. I'm in.
absolutely, man. All right. Everyone like, share, subscribe, and I'll see you next time.